Welcome, viewers, to the Broward County Bar Association's Meet Our Sponsors. In this episode, we will be speaking with John Uustal, co-founding partner at Kelley Uustal. Welcome, John, and thank you for taking time to log in and chat with me.
Of course.
Wonderful. So let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about Kelley Uustal? Tell us about your firm and what you do.
Yeah, Bob Kelley and me started the firm in, I think, 2006 in my garage, actually. Took us a little while to get office space, but since we've gotten fairly big for a trial firm. You know, I think the most amazing thing is the partners that we have now that have wanted to come work with us are just some really, really amazing trial lawyers. We have so many lawyers that go in on their own and get 8-figure verdicts and really, really are real courtroom lawyers.
So Kelley Uustal, also known as KU when we're talking here, is a powerhouse firm. And you're right. So many of your attorneys, I mean, they're, top attorneys that, bring big figure returns. And I think that has to do with your leadership. And Bob, can you talk about the culture and the philosophy, the values that you guys establish at your firm?
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. I'm not so sure that's true. I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes. I know I have. We try to learn from our mistakes. That's part of our culture. Fix the problem, not the blame. Another thing that I think is really important. In fact, we have a little. We got to flip through to the right one. We have a little thing that has like some of our key cultural principles, and one of them is called deliver victories. It's just on a sheet that's in every conference room. Every meeting we go through one of them before, but one of them is deliver victories. No matter where you work in the firm, your job is to win cases. And I think the reason why I think that is important is we're all trying our best, right? Everybody's trying their best, but as a lawyer, you have a client. And the client is counting on you. And certainly in cases where, the consequences are severe for the life of that client. We're not just talking about two big companies fighting over money. They need you to win, right? I mean, it's not good enough to go in and say, I tried my best. Well, if your best's not good enough, then you better figure out a different way. So I think that's an important thing, whether it means bringing other partners into the case when somebody goes to trial, the whole firm goes to trial. There's all sorts of things that flow from that idea that you got to win. It's when especially in a catastrophic injury case where there's life or death consequences. If you lose, that child might die. Your best is not good enough. You have to come through for the client that's counting on you.
Well, I've noticed, in interacting with you guys over the last decade, really, team effort is important. And I'm going to ask you about unique cases, but I know, and I hope you'll talk a little bit about, one of your staff members who test all kinds of things, pots that blow up and so forth. So can you talk about unique cases that you may have handled?
Yeah, so that's a good, I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that I should have said. We have our own testing facilities. We have our own testing lab. We have our own courtrooms that we train in. Every week the lawyers train to get better. Those are all things, I think they flow from the idea that you better win, right? You got to get better. So, we had situations where it just, the case that I think about, there was a lot of press about, was recently we settled the case for $27 million. And it was a case that a lot of lawyers did not want, that refused to handle. And, I understand why. It was the company had covered up the wrongdoing. And so it wasn't clear. All that came in the door was a mystery and a very expensive one, so if we want to take those cases, it's just not feasible to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on every mystery that comes through your door. So we have to find a way to do it ourselves. And so that's why we have our own testing facility. In that case, someone we work with, the director of our lab. I went to high school with him, but we didn't know what to call him, so that he's called the director of our lab right now. But we did, we bought pressure cookers on eBay. We had to go down to Mexico to get some of the ones that were no longer available in the US, which we found out later why. And we just did hundreds, weeks and weeks of our own testing, and eventually, discovered that there was a defect that had been covered up, and it had actually been changed, but there hadn't been a recall for the ones that were already still out there. And it was hard to figure out. The experts we hired couldn't do it, so we just did it ourselves. So, I mean, I think that's an answer both to our culture, but also some interesting cases. The cases I like to talk about are the ones that other lawyers didn't want. We do pride ourselves on handling cases that other lawyers have turned down. We had one that 8 other law firms turned down. There was a co-counsel attorney who was trying to find someone to take the case, and he just about given up. He had given up. But then he saw my partner, Todd Falzone, at something and started mentioning the case, and we took it, and that was it was a settlement. Both of these cases I just mentioned weren't even verdicts. There were settlements over $20 million. And listen, they were $20 million plus cases, right? In other words, those injuries were that severe. But the sad part of it is that the companies would have gotten away with it. These were both really clear cases of corporate cover-ups, and they almost got away with it. And those poor children in each case, young children, would have had really devastating lives if the companies had gotten away with their cover-up. So I'm really proud of the cases we've taken that no one else would. The first case Bob Kelley and I tried together, it was actually my first case ever. And it was before we started the firm, but Bob's written a book about it called The Memorandum, which someone just today in the hallway when I was coming in was telling me how quick he picked it up and he read it all the way to the end. That was a crazy story about a really important case in Broward County, Florida, about General Motors. Secret documents came out. It was on 60 Minutes, CNN, newspapers around the world. So I'm really proud of that case too.
I was going to ask you about awards that KU has received, but I would think that probably one of the best kind of awards that you all receive are being successful in these cases and helping your clients, make them as whole as possible after these terrible situations. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there's a certain level, I think it was Jerry Spence said in an important case with a devastated client, there's no joy in victory, only relief. But that relief is really good feeling, that the horrible thing that you were trying to avoid didn't happen. Sometimes I have thank you notes from clients, children that I represented, either who wrote them, as teenagers or when they grew up. Sometimes we represented their families as children, and then when the kids grow up, they write me a letter. Those mean a lot to me. And just last week, we got named, I think, the #3 best workplace in Broward County, not just law firms, but all workplaces by the Sun Sentinel. And we got an award for meaningful work, right? Not just that the employees felt that the work they did was meaningful, because it is, it's helping real people. And you talked at the beginning about how the firm is structured and the culture. It's kind of run like a trial team. The whole firm is run that way. And there's a lot of negative effects of that. It's not great business, but everybody in the firm, like I said, no matter where you work in the firm, your job is to win cases. Everybody knows that when that kid gets the medical care that she desperately needed, it's because of them. It's because of the work they do when they come in in the door in the morning every day. So the fact that the people who work here think that their work is so meaningful means a lot to me, because it is.
Would you say that your attitude, your culture of winning for your client is probably what sets you apart from other firms?
You know, I want to be careful. I just thinking about that, like a lot of things, we're just having a short conversation, right? It's not like you're a lawyer here. You've gone through our, you know, what do you call it when you bring new onboarding?
Onboarding.
Onboarding, and then you sit in our meetings and you just imbibe, you know, you just drink in the atmosphere of the people around you, and you kind of get a sense. That's how culture is spread. So these short little snippets, sometimes maybe they're a little misleading. So I just want to say, where the culture of winning, you know, your job is to win. We're the type of law firm that gets to choose which cases we take, right? So, you know, it would be, you know, you can't, if you're a prosecutor and you've got an innocent defendant, your job isn't to win. Your job is to drop the case. And, you know, and we look at it the same way with us. If we don't have a righteous case, then we shouldn't be in the courtroom. But when you do have a righteous case and somebody who's really counting on you, you better win. You know, that's your job as a lawyer. And the consequences are extreme if you mess up. So I do think that does set us apart, the lengths that we're willing to go to make sure that we don't let a righteous client down. You know, our own trial academy, the courtroom, the two-way mirrors. We bring jurors in, you know, mock jurors to practice our courtroom skills, our own testing, and on and on and on. We do those things because we need to deliver. But that all said, I don't think that's what, I think what really sets us apart, or at least what I like to focus on, is that the cases we take that no one else would, the cases that are turned down by a lot of other firms. And, you know, that proves we're different. We're taking different cases.
John, I've enjoyed this time. Do you have any last thoughts, something you'd like to tell our audience about KU and what makes you so special? Because you guys are special. You're very committed in our community.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad to have this opportunity. We'd love to support you guys in the work you do. It's really important. You know, that is another part of, I think that is important. You know, we support the Posse Foundation, Florida Children's First. That's a really important and very successful organization for Florida children, especially in foster care. The American Lung Association, because we do tobacco cases, that's important to us. Jack and Jill, just because I grew up here. But we also recently, well, a couple of years ago now, the trial school, we helped found the trial school, which is nationwide now, thousands of lawyers just trying to teach lawyers better trial skills so they can win the cases that need to be won to have a better world. And tonight, just coincidentally, as part of the trial school, I have a book club once every month or so. And the books are meant to inspire lawyers, to remind you the power you have to make this country better. So I'm proud of that. We have inspired a lot of lawyers with the book club. Tonight we have Gilbert King, Devil in the Grove. He's the Pulitzer Prize winning author of Devil in the Grove. If you haven't read that and you're a lawyer in Broward County, Florida, you're a member of the Broward County Bar Organization. If you haven't read Devil in the Grove, you don't know the power you have to make a better world.
John, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking your time, hanging out with me, talking a little bit and educating our audience about Kelley Uustal. And for everyone that needs to know how to contact you all, do you want to provide a website or contact information?
Yeah, sure. Our website is kulaw.com. And you could just look up Kelley Uustal on Google, or John Uustal. And the nice thing about having such a strange last name is you will get to us. Uustal, 2 U's.
2 U's. 2 U's.
You type that in. There's nobody else that's gonna come up. Use.
John, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot.
Take care.
You too.